It's done. It's over. It's now official, and it's quite a surreal feeling. It's quite a surreal moment in reality, especially given how quickly this all seems to have happened. Former Chelsea manager Thomas Tuchel has now finally decided, following nearly 200 days away from the sport of football, that the time has come for him to return. However, much to the dismay of many Chelsea fans around the world, and maybe even some clubs around the world, he has chosen to join German giants Bayern Munich on a 2.5-year deal starting on Monday, the 27th of March 2023. Tuchel is expected to hold his first training session at the beginning of next week following the departure of Julian Nagelsmann. Nagelsmann, 14 years Tuchel's junior, was relieved of his duties, leaving with an over 70% win ratio to boot. 60 wins! 60 wins in 84 with just 10 losses in that time. Bayern, of course, getting through to the quarterfinals of the Champions League. Could be affecting us at some point. We'll get to that. But coming to the quarterfinals of the Champions League after defeating PSG 3-0 on aggregate. Comfortably, if anything, against a PSG side that, every single year they're touted to be one of the favourites. But again, it hasn't fared well. Nagelsmann's Bayern Munich will now see his efforts given to Thomas Tuchel, which of course raises the newest dilemma to our already seemingly impossible route to the Champions League final. Should we progress past Real Madrid and likewise Bayern past Manchester City, we will, of course, as luck would have it, have to face the very manager we got rid of at the start of the season. Something you can only imagine would be Bowley's absolute worst nightmare. And rightly so. Tuchel, he will be looking for blood. He will absolutely be looking for blood. His love for the club, undeniable. But in that moment, if we come face to face once again, over those two games, we can expect one of many things, but a few things. Is it the emotional, passionate, ferocious Tuchel we all loved as a manager against a manager that possesses none of those qualities, quite frankly? It will quite literally be a side-by-side comparison for Todd to see with his very own eyes, his very own peepers, on two separate occasions, should we get there. And knowing Chelsea, knowing how fate works for us, how everything that goes our way is a Chelsea thing, you know very well how likely those odds have now become. I can't help but think it's a bit of a cop-out from Tuchel, to be honest with you, from my perspective anyway. Joining the biggest club in Germany, Bayern Munich, boring, isn't it? It's boring. It's so boring. A club that is almost guaranteed success no matter who's in charge. I mean, Nagelsmann's been criticised for, he's had an easy side to work with, good players to work with, which quite frankly is most Bayern Munich managers. The only reason I can imagine Bayern have hired him specifically is to win the Champions League. Hiring a manager who has come very close to winning it with a side with such huge star power in PSG, didn't manage it there, but also the same manager, a manager who has won it with a far less, in the way of talent on paper compared to your Neymars and your Mbappes and people like that, to then go and win it with Havertz and Mount and, you know what I'm trying to say, come on. Whilst Julian Nagelsmann may well have had the facilities to win them their first Champions League in 3 years, they must have seen their odds raise significantly with the prospect of Tuchel at the wheel. Bayern's director even came out and said, after thorough analysis of the sporting development of our team, especially since January, and with the experience of the second half of the previous season, we have now decided together to release Julian. Simply, what it comes down to is, they didn't trust the guy. And they have someone else that they can trust 100% in Thomas Tuchel. With that, Julian Nagelsmann is now a free agent, so to speak. He's free to window shop for any and all jobs that may suit his requirements. Many people now suggesting that we take the man whose job was taken by the man we let go. It's a really strange scenario because on one hand, you know, we could have exactly that. The man who was replaced by the man we had replaced. But when you look at what he brings, there's potential with him being a manager with a really good portfolio, especially considering his age, just 35 years of age, young bloke. He's considered by many as one of the top young prospects in the managerial world of football. He's known for being somewhat of a great, or rather good tactician, and also more than capable of managing young talent, Musiala, etc. Upamecano. If you consider what Bayern currently have at their disposal, high pressing, attacking football, it's a debate being had all over the place right now. Myself, I'm not sold necessarily on anyone these days. Let alone our own manager. For the most part, I am seeing mostly people saying at least he'd be better than Potter, which isn't saying a lot, to be honest with you. Personally, I think that the decision is harsh on Nagelsmann. However, Bayern move in weird ways, just like we do. They're a club who dispose of managers ruthlessly, going through 5 managers since Pep Guardiola left back in 2016. That said, when you have someone like Tommy T booting around looking to make up for lost time, you can't really let that opportunity slip. I'm sure everyone will be happy that Tuchel is back in work and doing what he loves to do. But, you know, should we face Bayern, at least for those 2 games, I'm praying you, I'm begging you. I don't want to see any soppy compilations or tributes or anything. He's going to try and end us. He has a point to prove against Todd's, against Egbar, you name it. He's got a point to prove. Not to us as the fans, not to Chelsea as the club, but those lot. The pleasantries come after. I'm just pleased. With that said, let me know how you feel about the situation. And do we stick with Potter or do we test the waters now with Julian lurking about? My name is Harry. Be sure to subscribe, like the video, and hit the bell notification to be notified of any future content on the channel. Again, my name is Harry, up the Chelsea, and peace.